You know what the most humiliating moment of my adult life was? Sitting in front of 12 people at a Father's Day dinner, family, kids, my mother-in-law, and hearing my wife laugh and say, "It's not like you do anything anyway. I could have gone to the school event instead." That was the moment something cracked in me. Right there, fork in hand, surrounded by barbecue smoke and silence so loud it rang in my ears. What happened next shocked everyone, and changed our family forever. My name's Marcus. I'm 43, and for years I believed I was building something solid. I was working 2 jobs, pulling late nights and early mornings, all while finishing my second degree and eventually a master's in engineering. My wife, Tara, she's 38. We've been together since our 20s. She earned a health sciences degree that could easily bring in $80,000 a year. But when our kids, Mason and Ellie, now 6 and 4, came along, she chose to stay home. I respected that. I admired it, actually. When I finally got promoted last year and started earning around $160,000 plus bonuses, I thought, we made it. Not rich, but stable. Secure. Enough to hire a part-time nanny so Tara wouldn't feel overwhelmed at home. We even moved her mom in to help while she went through chemo. I took over the bills, the finances, the maintenance, the medical costs, not just for us, but for my mother-in-law too. And yet, I started to notice the days slipping into a strange pattern. I work mostly from home now, managing global teams and multi-million-dollar projects, stuck in back-to-back calls from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But while I'm buried in spreadsheets and strategy decks, Tara doesn't start her day until 10. Sometimes 11. I asked the nanny and her mom if that was normal. They just shrugged and said, "It varies." Every morning, I'm the one who gets Mason ready, packs his bag, drops him off, comes back to open the door for the nanny. I prep the house, fix the coffee, feed the pets. Meanwhile, Tara wakes up late, scrolls Instagram, orders stuff online. And when I mention anything at all about my stress, she sighs and says, "You don't know what it's like to have someone cling to your leg all day." It's always a competition with her. If I'm tired, she's more tired. If I have a bad day, hers was worse. If I come back from a business trip with sore feet, she scoffs that she stands more than I do. I try to talk about how I feel, but she cuts me off. "You're lucky to get away from the house. You ruined my career. You think this life is easy for me?" You know what hurts more than words? Silence. She doesn't ask me about my job. She doesn't know what I do anymore. When I mentioned something about a merger at work, she blinked like I was speaking Portuguese. I've tried to explain, once, twice, 20 times. But she never listens. Just nods and zones out or changes the subject to whatever problem she's having. Our intimacy? It's been dead for over a year. I chalked it up to stress, hormones, maybe depression. But even now that our youngest is in daycare part-time, and she has help during the day, nothing's changed. It's like I'm invisible in my own home, except when there's trash to take out, dinner to pay for, or another bill to cover. I'm not some hero husband, okay? I get cranky. I leave socks around. I miss the mark sometimes. But when you spend all day giving everything to everyone and come home to a partner who treats you like a burden, like you're the one who failed, it starts to wear you down. Last week, I found myself talking to our golden retriever more than to my wife. He listens better anyway. And he doesn't tell me I've ruined his life. But the real breaking point? That came on Father's Day. The moment she mocked me in front of everyone and said, "What do you even do?" My mother-in-law, bless her, was the only one who responded. She leaned across the table and said, "Well, maybe if you feel that way, one of you should divorce the other." Tara just laughed, pointed at me and said, "As if another woman would want him." That's when I got up, walked out the door, drove until the gas light came on. And that's when I decided, I'm done being her villain. The day after Father's Day felt empty. But not in a quiet, reflective kind of way. More like walking into a room that used to be yours and realizing you're just a guest now. I still woke up at 5:30. Still made Mason's breakfast. Still laid out Ellie's shoes by the door. Still dropped off one kid, welcomed the nanny, and opened my laptop to begin a workday where no one interrupted me to ask how I was feeling, because no one ever does. Tara? She didn't get up until 10:15. Didn't say a word to me. Not a glance, not a nod. Just scrolled her phone while sipping the protein smoothie I had restocked from yesterday's grocery run. And yet I still hoped, irrationally, for an apology. For a moment where she'd look at me and say, "That was out of line. I'm sorry I embarrassed you." But what I got instead was her packing a weekend bag and walking out the front door. No discussion. No warning. Just a text, "I'm staying at my sister's. Need space." I sat on the stairs holding my coffee like it was the only thing anchoring me to the floor. The kids asked where Mommy went. I lied. I said she had a meeting. Ellie handed me her stuffed owl and said, "You can borrow Ollie until she gets back." That was the first time in weeks I cried. Silently. In the pantry of all places. And here's the irony. When she finally did come back, 5 days later, she walked in like she just returned from Target. Bags in hand, makeup on, eyes glossed over with entitlement. No apologies. Just a scene. I was mid-Zoom call, headphones on, reporting to the European team when I felt her presence. She stood there in my office, arms crossed, waiting for me to acknowledge her. When I finally did, she exploded. "You really don't care, do you? You don't even ask how I'm feeling." I couldn't believe it. Me? It was as if all the nights I'd stayed up calculating budgets, managing the kids' health plans, refilling her mom's prescriptions, making sure our bills were paid on one income, meant absolutely nothing. The whole house stopped. My mother-in-law rushed in, tried to calm her down. The nanny grabbed Ellie and walked to the far side of the house like this was just another Tuesday. That night, after the storm settled, we found ourselves in our bedroom for the first time in a while. It started with drinks, then yelling, then crying. We ended up in bed, but it wasn't forgiveness. It was just familiarity. A sad, muscle memory routine. The next morning, as the sun sliced through the blinds, she looked at me and said, "It was so hard staying with my family in that cramped house. I'm lucky you kept things so easy here." "Easy?" I said, staring at the ceiling. "Yeah. I mean, you've got the job, the house, the car, everything. I don't have that luxury." It felt like my brain detached from my body. That's when I remembered something from years ago. When I was 16, my dad left. Not in a dramatic slamming the door kind of way, but quietly, like a ghost tiptoeing out of the house. I remember waking up to find a sticky note on the fridge. "Do what you gotta do." That day, my mom cried into the laundry and pretended nothing had changed. I think I've been trying not to become him ever since. But in that moment, listening to Tara talk about how lucky I was while I carried our lives on my back, I finally understood what he meant. Do what you gotta do. Later that week, I tried one last time to fix things. I asked her to sit down and talk, not about chores or responsibilities, but about us. About my stress, my needs, my fear that we were drowning separately in the same house. But her response? "You're supposed to help me be happy. We all have problems. Figure yours out." That's when the light went out in me. Not suddenly, but like a bulb that flickers one last time before it dies for good. Since then, I've been sleeping on the couch. Sometimes in the office. Sometimes I fall asleep in the kids' bed after reading to them and just stay there. She still wakes up late. Still scrolls through phone mom groups like she's training for an Olympic event. Still starts fights if I ask for the simplest thing, like a conversation. And me? I've stopped hoping. But here's the worst part, the thing I haven't told anyone yet. I started drafting a divorce plan. I know what she's entitled to, what I'll give up. I even found a lawyer. I've kept it all quiet. Because deep down, even now, I still fear one thing more than losing her. Losing my kids. It was a Wednesday night when I caught myself doing something that knocked the breath out of me. I was standing in the hallway, watching my daughter Ellie sleep, Her tiny fingers curled around that worn-out awl she'd given me while Tara was away. And I whispered, "You're the only reason I haven't left." I didn't mean to say it out loud. But it came out anyway, raw and aching, like a leak I'd held back for too long. I covered my mouth instinctively, like someone might have heard. But of course, no one did. Tara was in the other room, earbuds in, watching some reality show on her iPad. Emotionally checked out. Like always. I walked downstairs and poured myself a drink. Just one. That's my limit now. I've had to keep it that way. Because if I let myself go, I'm not sure I'd come back. And that's when a memory from nearly 30 years ago slammed into me like a freight train. I was 13 when my dad came home drunk for the last time. My mom had been holding us together like duct tape on a cracked window, trying to hide the shaking from us kids. But I saw everything. I remember standing at the top of the stairs, listening as she begged him not to go back out. "Please, for the kids," she said. "Just for tonight." He didn't answer. Just grabbed his keys, slammed the door, and left. And I was frozen. I didn't run after him. I didn't go hug my mom. I just stared down that staircase and felt the first cold stab of emotional abandonment. Like I'd learned too young that even parents can walk out. That no one was guaranteed to stay. Back then I made a silent vow, I would never be that man. I'd be the dad who stayed. Who showed up. Who never left his kids asking, "Where's Dad?" at school events. But lately I've started to wonder, have I already broken that promise? Because even though I'm physically here, working, providing, holding everyone up, my soul feels miles away. I'm not sure what scares me more, becoming my father or becoming someone worse. A ghost in his own home. A few days after that memory resurfaced, I made the mistake of trying, again, to talk to Tara. I brought up therapy. I said, "This isn't working. We're just roommates now, and it's hurting all of us." Her response? A shrug. "I'm doing my best. Maybe you're the one who needs to fix himself." I said, "I already am fixing myself. I'm in therapy. I'm asking for help." "What are you doing?" She just rolled her eyes. "Here we go again with your guilt speeches. You want a trophy for waking up early?" That's when something snapped. Not like a tantrum. Not like shouting. It was quieter than that, colder. A final, irreversible shift. I went back to my office, opened my encrypted folder, and reviewed the draft divorce settlement. Line by line. Custody terms. Financial distributions. Healthcare coverage. I'd written it all up weeks ago, but hadn't touched it since. Until that night. And I added something new. A full provision for my mother-in-law's care. Because no matter how broken my marriage is, she's done more parenting with me in the last year than Tara has. And she deserves better than to be collateral damage. But as I was typing, my son Mason peeked in the doorway. "Dad," he said sleepily, "why don't you sleep with Mommy anymore?" I froze. What could I say? How do you explain emotional starvation to a 6-year-old? I knelt down, hugged him tight, and whispered, "Sometimes grown-ups forget how to be kind. But I'll always be here, buddy. Always." He nodded, half asleep. Trusted me completely. And I realized in that moment, I don't have the luxury of waiting for Tara to change anymore. Because while I'm waiting, my kids are watching. You know how people talk about turning points like there's some quiet moment of epiphany? That's not what happened. My breaking point didn't arrive gently. It came wrapped in a grilled steak and an iced tea, surrounded by family, at a table I paid for, on Father's Day. Tara didn't buy a card. Didn't help the kids make anything. Didn't even say the words. She slept in, rolled out of bed at 11:30, and started shouting instructions at the nanny while scrolling through Facebook Marketplace like she was prepping for an estate sale. Her only comment to me that morning was, "There's bacon in the fridge." But I didn't say anything. I was too tired to fight. Instead, I helped my mother-in-law get dressed, double-checked Mason's gift bag for school, loaded Ellie's favorite snacks into her little backpack, and then spent half an hour trimming the hedges out front because God forbid our yard didn't look like a Pinterest post when the in-laws came by. By mid-afternoon, the backyard was full. Her parents, her sister and her family, my mom, the kids. A nice spread. Nothing extravagant, just burgers, ribs, lemonade. Everyone had a plate. People were laughing. The kids were drawing with chalk on the patio. It should have felt good. But then, mid-conversation with my brother-in-law about Mason's school event, I said, "It was kind of sad. Some kids were sitting alone during the Father's Day breakfast. Glad I could be there for Mason." And that's when Tara cut in, loud enough to cut through the chatter. "It's not like you do anything anyway. I could have gone instead." The entire table went quiet. Like someone had pulled the power cord on the moment. My mother-in-law froze, fork midair. My mom stared down at her lemonade like it held answers. Even Tara's sister looked up from her phone, blinking like she wasn't sure she'd heard right. And me? I laughed. Just once. A small, pathetic breath of disbelief. Because I knew that if I opened my mouth, I'd either sob or scream. So I did either. I stood up, took my keys off the hook by the patio door, and walked out. Didn't say a word. Didn't slam the door. Just walked. I drove until the gas light came on again. Same route as last time. Same empty roads. Same weight in my chest. When I got back early the next morning, Tara was still asleep in our bed. Snoring lightly, tangled in the sheets like a teenager. I stood there and just watched her. Not with anger. With clarity. That was the moment I decided. I texted my lawyer at 6:07 a.m. Move forward with the filing. Serve her this week. And so it began. 3 days later, she was served in our kitchen, while I was prepping Ellie's lunch. She stormed into my office, shaking, red-faced. Accusing me of betrayal. Of turning her family against her. Her mom tried to calm her down. The kids were pulled into another room. She slammed her hand on the table and screamed, "How could you do this on Father's Day week?" And I just said, "I asked for a hug? You gave me a punchline." That week she changed. Suddenly, she was up early. Cooking full breakfasts. Cleaning like she was in a home makeover montage. Playing with the kids, loudly, performatively. Even making lists of ways to reconnect. But it wasn't real. It never is. We've played this game before. What was different this time? I didn't fall for it. I stopped sleeping on the couch and moved to the guest room. I started organizing the kids' documents, setting up new medical files, prepping for a custody hearing, just in case. And something wild happened. Her family took my side. Even her own sister said, "Honestly, it's been a long time coming." Tara called it a betrayal. I called it honesty. I'm gunning for full custody. Not out of vengeance. Out of necessity. I don't want to risk my kids becoming casualties in a war of neglect. Her mother cried when I told her. She hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on them." And here's the part no one believes. I still don't hate Tara. I don't want to destroy her. I just want to stop drowning in a marriage where my existence is treated like a burden. The day after the divorce papers were served, Tara tried to leave again, but this time, she wanted to take Mason and Ellie with her. She stood in the hallway, keys in hand, kids already strapped into their jackets, saying, "I'm taking them to my sister's. I need space." The moment I heard it, I felt that old panic crawl up my spine, the same fear that used to keep me up at night. That I'd lose my children not because I was a bad father, but because she decided I didn't matter. But this time? I wasn't that scared, silent husband anymore. "No," I said, calm but firm. "You're not taking them." She looked at me like I'd just slapped her. "They're my kids too," she snapped. "Exactly," I said. "Which is why they're staying in their home. With their routines. Their beds. Their lives." For once, I wasn't alone in that stance. Her sister stepped in, her own sister, and said, You can't just dump them at my house, Tara. You don't even have a job. We're living with Dad. What are you thinking? It was chaos. But not the kind that breaks you. The kind that confirms everything you've been holding in is real. That you're not crazy. That it wasn't all in your head. Eventually, she backed down. Slammed the door to the bedroom and stayed in there the rest of the night. Later, I walked into my office, glass of whiskey in hand, and just sat there. Breathing. For the first time in months, I wasn't scared of what would happen next. I was exhausted, yes, but clear. Tara came in around midnight. Eyes puffy, lips trembling. We talked. Again. Argued. Again. Cried. Again. Ended up in bed. Again. But this time, I didn't feel close to her. I felt like I was saying goodbye with my body. And when morning came, I didn't pretend anymore. Because even in her most vulnerable moments, the only thing Tara could talk about was herself, how hard it was at her sisters, how lucky I am, how everyone always sides against her. Not once did she say sorry. Not once did she ask how I was doing. Not once did she hug me. I could have stayed in that loop forever. And maybe that was her plan, to wear me down until I gave up and just accepted the new normal. But something changed in me. A small, but permanent shift. So, at our next family meeting, with both sets of parents present, our therapist in attendance, I laid it out. I'm not here to blame anyone anymore, I said. But this marriage is over. I'm not fighting anymore. I'm freeing myself. The room went silent. Tara blinked. Then gave a little laugh. You'll regret this. I looked her straight in the eye and said, The only thing I regret is wasting this much time hoping you'd be someone you no longer want to be. She didn't respond. Just stared at me with that same stunned, wounded expression I've worn in the mirror 1,000 times. That night, I tucked Mason into bed. He asked if I'd still live with them. Always, I said. Even if I have to get a different house, I'll always be right there. He nodded, yawned, and said, I know, Dad. You're the one who never misses anything. That's when I finally cried. The kind of cry that doesn't need an audience. I wish I could tell you the divorce went smoothly, but nothing involving Tara ever does. She tried to fight for custody, but the court saw through her sudden, supermom routine. I have majority custody now. Full control of finances, school plans, medical decisions. She sees them twice a week, when she shows up. And here's the final twist. After the judge ruled in my favor, Tara came up to me in the hallway outside the courtroom and said, You must feel real proud of yourself. I looked at her, really looked, and said something I'd waited years to say. No. I just feel free.